Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Hubert, and I'm finally back reviewing another Minecraft map. This is Danvers Insane Asylum, made by Ambrose1810. And so for a little bit of context, the State Lunatic Hospital at Danvers was designed by Nathaniel Bradley, and it is based off of the Kirkbride plan, just like Buffalo State Hospital. And so it took 4 years to build from 1874 to 1878. And it was renamed to Danvers Insane Hospital in 1898, and then renamed again in 1908 to Danvers State Hospital, and Danvers State Hospital closed in 1992. And so just for a little bit of a basic overview here, so in the center we have the administration building, of course, the front center, what is referred to as building F, and then behind that would be building E, the rear center. And on the left-hand side, we have the male wards. So we have buildings G, H, I, and J. Building G is the ward closest to the administration building, and it is for the convalescent patients, those closest to recovery. And then buildings H and I in the center are the wards for the less excited patients. And then what we're seeing right over here is building J, which is the ward for the excited patients, which are the most dangerous patients. And also note that this is one of the refractory wards, and you can notice it is on a 45-degree angle, which is interesting, because the other wards, the other ward buildings are on a, of course, basic 90-degree angle. So kind of stands out a little bit there. Kind of makes it a little bit unique, pretty much. And so this is supposed to represent the hospital as it would have originally looked. And so there wasn't a whole lot to the actual grounds here, as you can see. It is just the basically the main Kirkbride building, what we're seeing here. So administration building, male wards, female wards. There would also be like a farm as well, kind of off to the side. And then over here is basically what we have is building K. And so this is the boiler house. And so it basically provided power and heat to the main Kirkbride building. And so you can see a very nice smokestack in the center there, so kind of represent the actual powerhouse. But this whole area would change quite a bit. This whole area would be massively expanded later on. So this whole area behind the central portion of the Kirkbride changed a lot over the years. It would be completely built up. And you can also see that, so we do have a little bit of the representation as to what the actual gardens look like. So it does look pretty bare here where we have like the walkways, but do keep in mind that there would be these very elaborate gardens in between. And I can kind of get why he didn't take the time to build them, because they were pretty complex. But I'll make sure to include some images of those in this video. But then, anyways, back to the main building here. So we have 4 more ward buildings. So it's kind of just a mirror image of the male ward side. And so this is, this would be building A. So again, your refractory ward on a 45-degree angle. And then, of course, in kind of the center, we have buildings B and C, which are for the less excited patients. And so this would be building B right there, and then right over here, this is building C right there. And then kind of last but not least, building D, which is for the convalescent patients. And then over here, you can see that there is this road out in the front. So there will be later buildings added here, such as Gray Gables, the male nurse's home, the female nurse's home, the Bonner Medical Building, so all of those. And so from building J to building A, the length of the building spanned 1,180 feet. And so out in the front of the building, so back to the administration building, so nearly the entire hospital was constructed out of red Danvers brick. And so, you have 3 floors plus a basement and attic, and you have this very nice tower. And so the tower would be removed later on in 1970 because the condition of it had just completely deteriorated. And so what we see on the building nowadays is actually just a recreation. So Avalon Bay, which purchased the site in 2005 to develop apartments and condos, they just recreated it. So the only thing really left of Danvers is the administration building and the 2 ward buildings on each side, one on each side, and even then those are just shells. So anyways, now we're going to head inside of the administration building. And so the main core of the Kirkbride was what is known as the front center. It basically contained the administrative offices, so it's basically just the administration building here. You got some porches down the front, and then just a lot of office space, plus some dining rooms. So this right here is the assistant superintendent's office. This is the superintendent's office. So very large, and there's actually a couple of photos of it. But then you got some nice bay windows here, and just some standard windows. A little bit of like a secondary entrance here. There would be like a staircase later built up here. Yeah. And then over here is this was the business office. There's also a dispensary, so kind of like an apothecary, pretty much. Towards the back here, so yeah, that goes to the rear center. And this is, I think, just like a lavatory, the officer's dining room. And then this would be the dining hall. This would be a lot bigger, actually. And then, like, kind of in the center, there are some more corridors and also a couple of staircases. And so that's the first floor of the front center. Here's the second floor. Not really sure what was up here, but I'm guessing, kind of basing it off of Buffalo State Hospital, this would have been the, where the superintendent and his family would have stayed. So probably like bedrooms, some bathrooms, maybe some more office space. And then this is the third floor. So probably just more kind of like apartments for the staff here. And then you also have a little bit of a attic as well on the 4th floor here. So which is bare here, but that's okay. And of course you also do have the actual tower here, which goes past the 4th floor. So very nice to actually kind of see it here. Kind of represented, here in Minecraft in 3D. And so you get some very nice views of the rest of the complex from up here. And you just have kind of the roof here. So the tower is actually pretty tall. From the information I have, it was 130 feet tall. So just to give you an idea of how big it was. And so yeah, back in the attic here, don't really have a whole lot to really say about it. But it kind of extends to the rear center from the looks of it here. And so let's actually have a look at that now. And so here is the back of the front center. So here's kind of like just kind of this area in between the 2 centers. So just to kind of give you an idea of what it looked like here. So some more entrances off to the sides here. And I apologize for it being so dark. I'll try my best to get through this. So right over here you have more officers' dining rooms from the plans I have. And let me just try switching it over today. Maybe it'll help a little bit. And so this is, another officer's dining room. So the rear center was kind of like the service area. So it would have contained things like the bakery, the kitchen, the laundry, and just some dining and reception rooms for the attendants. And so at least kind of on the first floor, on the second floor was actually kind of this auditorium slash chapel. So right over there, I think is the linen room, and this would be the laundry. So it's kind of interesting how the laundry was actually part of the main building at one point. I do think it was just later put into like a separate building later on. And so yeah, this would basically just be a whole bunch of service areas here. And yeah, more entrances. And there's also one at the back here. And so that looks towards, our boiler house, building K. And so going on up to the second floor, and really third floor, yeah, this is the auditorium and chapel I was talking about. So you can just access it from the front center. And yeah, you have a lot of seating here, which is really the first sign I've seen of furniture in this map. So yeah, very large room here with these very tall windows at the sides, which I really love. And you kind of got a stage here with D on it, D for Danvers, of course. And then kind of behind it is got these kind of, I guess, backstage areas. Yeah, probably some storage rooms, probably. I'm not actually sure what was back here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And yeah, you get some very nice views of the rest of the other buildings. And of course, you also have a balcony here. So on the third floor, and then going back towards the front center. And so I think that's going to be it for the rear center. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to really say about it past this point. So I think with that, we're going to head to the ward buildings now. And so I guess we'll start with the female ward side. Alright, so kind of now towards the back here, alright. So probably more office space in here. Not actually sure what was in here. You just got like this section that sticks out here. But then this leads to the wards here. Alright, yep, so we have, this would be a staircase in here. With a entrance out in the front. And so remember that this is female ward D here. And so very wide hallway, as you can see, that goes all the way to the very end. And so you just got, yeah, it's fairly basic, but this is actually kind of what it would have looked like. So would have looked, the interior would have looked fairly basic, with the exception that the ceilings would have been made out of tin, just like the female wards at Buffalo State Hospital. And so I think this was the bathroom, and there's a lavatory at the end here. And then most of this would have just been patient rooms. So for one person, even though they are pretty big here, I think it's just because of the scale here. And yeah, there would have been parlors here. So just kind of like these little lounges at these sections in the middle. So at the kind of bay windows here. Alright, so yeah, just, yeah, this would have just mostly just been patient rooms here. And there were also some dormitories as well. I think it's actually on the other side here. So yeah, more patient rooms here. And then yeah, this would have been one of the dormitories. So these areas that kind of stick out. The dining rooms are on the back here. So yeah, here's the end of the corridor. And so this goes on to the next ward building. This right here would have been the dining room. And then there was also a linen room there. So that's pretty much it for that. And yeah, you have the second floor, which is basically just, yeah, identical to the first one. So fairly basic, but then again, that's kind of what you would expect to find with these asylums slash state hospitals. And then yeah, the third floor is also basically identical from the looks of it. And so that goes back towards the front and rear centers, and also the male ward side. And then we just have the attic here, and they also have like these towers as well, the actual ward buildings. And so I do think there are actually patient rooms up here, so probably maybe later added on, because I did see some photos of the building as it was after it closed, so as it was abandoned. And it does seem like there are actual patient rooms up on the attic slash fourth floor. And so yeah, here's a closer look at one of the towers here. So it's kind of interesting. The ward buildings are basically connected by these like towers pretty much instead of corridors. So basically like these smaller kind of square towers, with the exception of the last one, which was kind of more octagon shaped. So here's just kind of a closer look at the roof here. So really like the actual material for the roof. So we got some another brick going on in here. So again, it works really well with the brick, I have to say. So then with some sandstone for detailing. So it really gives it kind of that gothic look, so that you really want to go for when building this. So then anyways, yeah, so here's just going on onto the second female ward building. So the second of 4. And so the layout here isn't really going to be that much different from the first one. So just more patient rooms, single patient rooms, parlors, an attendance room, the linen room, a dormitory, and dining room. So that's pretty much it. So again, it's fairly typical of what you would see, even in other institutions like this, including my beloved Buffalo State Hospital, but yeah, again, that's pretty much just what you expect to find. So third floor here, yeah, I guess I'm not really going to spend too much time with these 2 center ward buildings because they're basically identical to what we saw. So yeah, this will just be, probably another dormitory. And so just, stuff you would expect to find in these ward buildings. And then you got your roof there. Yep, so again, not really a whole lot to really say about it. Again, there's really no furniture or anything. It's just rooms. And so they're also not labeled as well. So if you don't have any, any knowledge or did research on this building, you'd really have no idea of what each of these rooms are. So it would be interesting to see this kind of updated, maybe even have like other versions, as the building evolved. So versions representing how the building would have looked later on. Kind of what I'm doing for my Buffalo State Hospital map. And let's see if that helps. Yeah, I'm just trying to make it brighter, so because the interior is so dark. So anyway, yeah, here's that octagonal tower I was talking about. So that separates buildings B and A. And speaking of which, we're now going to head into the final ward building, which is building A on the female ward side. So our refractory ward. And like I said, it is on a 45-degree angle, so it makes for some interesting looking interiors here. And so, but other than that, it's pretty typical. It is a little bit different in interior arrangement, as you can see, compared to the other wards. So there's like this entrance at the back here, which this was a staircase in here. And also you have like a lot of windows on this side, on like the south side, that the other ward buildings did not have. So this was one of the locations where there were like sun porches added later on. So kind of similar to like the verandas that were added to Buffalo State Hospital. And yeah, so just the last of the rooms here. So yeah, another difference was that the refractory wards did not have dormitories, obviously. So everyone just got their own room. So there's only single rooms, single patient rooms in the refractory wards. So yeah, second floor here, pretty much identical. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time here. And so, okay, yeah, this goes back to the entrance tower. And then the third floor here as well. So the refractory ward was the same height as all the other wards. You know, again, kind of another difference to Buffalo State Hospital, whereas the refractory ward was only 1 story tall compared to the 2 and 3 stories of the other ward buildings. And so here's just the roof. Yep, again, it's bare. There's nothing in here. And we got the, again, the tower here. So that's pretty much going to be it for the female ward side then. At this point, we just have the basement left. And so now I'm not really sure what was down here. I'm guessing it was like Buffalo State Hospital, and it was pretty barren, and it was pretty much just for storage. And I'm guessing it would have also been a way for food to be delivered, since, you know, there's only one kitchen, which was in the rear center, so they would have needed a quick way of delivering the food to all the different ward buildings. And so probably the fastest way would have been for the to just bring it down to the basement and use dumbwaiters, because I know the plans did mention there were dumbwaiters as well in the ward buildings, I think. So, but I don't think they would have actually had patient rooms down here. That would have been very interesting. I mean, I could see patient rooms being in like the attic, which is already pretty interesting, but then having them down in the basement is just something else. I don't know if they would have really gone for something like that. So anyways, yeah, I think we're now back in the centers, yeah. It's a little bit dark down here, but kind of doing my best here. So yeah, okay, yeah, this is the front center now. So this is the administration building. And now, one very interesting fact here is that there were actual tunnels down here. So I'm gonna try to find those. So yeah, still in the now in the rear center here. Aha, okay, so yeah, you can see that there were these tunnels here, these underground tunnels, and so they actually kind of connected all the different sections together as well, including the boiler house, as you can see. So this is, I think this is the chimney now of the boiler house, yeah. So there's a tunnel linking the boiler house to the main complex, but it also kind of linked all the different wards together as well. So you can see that he even represented that in his map here. So that's kind of what it looked like, basically just these really long underground tunnels. I think even a few of the tunnels, probably not all of them, but a few of the tunnels still survive to this day. So they were expanded later on because, you know, obviously I was talking about different, some of the later buildings that were added. So I think they also just expanded the tunnels to include connecting those with the older buildings. So because I think there was like a tunnel that also connected the main complex to the Bonner Medical Building. So really interesting. And I mean, other institutions also had, I guess, something similar, but I guess just not on this scale, like at Danvers. Especially because the way it looks like from like a plan view, all the different tunnels. It looks kind of cool, actually, to see all the different, just these tunnels branching out from the building. So yeah, here's just the back of the boiler house, which I'm gonna review last. I do want to check out the male ward side, which I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time on, just because it's basically a mirror image of the female ward side. And so, of course, here we have Building J, which is the male refractory ward. And so it's it's very similar to what we saw on the female ward side. Again, it's just a mirror copy of it. So here's that tower, yep. And now we're in Building I. So the third male ward building from the, from the administration side. Because again, we're kind of going backwards here. We're heading towards the center and not away from it. And then the other tower here, and now we're in Building H. So the another one of the wards for the less excited patients. So that and Building I. And last but not least, we do have Building J, which is for the male convalescent patients. And it's basically a mirror image of Building D, which is for the female convalescent patients. And so that is going to be it for the main building here, the Kirkbride. And last but not least, we do have Building K, the boiler house, to explore, which isn't really going to take too long since it's fairly small here, as you can see. 2 stories tall with an attic. That's kind of roughly a square shape here. So we got a very nice smokestack here. Very tall. And so yeah, it's on fire here. So, and that's kind of what he did to kind of represent smoke. So from this angle, you can't really see the fire, so it just looks like, just the smoke coming out of the top. And there's some, skylights back there. So first I do want to kind of, explore the interior of this. And so there's not a whole lot to it here. Yeah, we got some fan rooms at the sides. So it's just symmetrical here. So fan rooms. Yeah, okay, so there were like staircases here, and then the the engine and pump rooms. And then just like the main room here, so like the firing room, which also has the chimney here. Yep, on that side. And then second floor here, yeah, I'm not actually sure what was up here, since, again, the plans I have is only for the first floor. But we do have, like, this attic space with those skylights again, which I'm not actually sure if those were there, because they're kind of interesting. But, yeah, here's the upper attic here. And then the very top here of kind of this cupola here. And then back down to the tunnels, since... Okay, just making sure I covered this, since there's really nothing else to really actually explore. I think I've covered everything that I can cover in this map. So guys, I think that is going to be a wrap for this review. So we got a nice sunset going there, so kind of leaves off on a kind of a, I guess, good opportunity here just to kind of end the video. It's very scenic. And so I guess I'll just kind of give you an overall view. I'll try my best to give an overall view. This map is really big, so again, the full wingspan of Danvers was nearly 1,200 feet, so which is already pretty big, but then, compared to Buffalo State Hospital, which had a wingspan of 2,200 feet, so nearly nearly twice the length of Danvers. So, but it's still very, very big. And so yeah, that's going to be it for the video, guys. So just some overall, final thoughts. I did enjoy this map. It's very nice, lots of detail. Although, of course, there is still a lot of stuff that can be added, such as, finer details, like the rooms being labeled and furniture. But again, I still do understand that stuff does take time. So this already looks like it took quite a bit of time. So, but still, it is kind of something, to consider. And also, like I said, maybe different versions of this, later on, depicting the hospital at its different stages. So yeah, overall, I'm quite a big fan of this map. This turned out really, really well. And so guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Of course, feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comments section below. And of course, also do feel free to suggest any maps that you would like for me to cover on this channel. And so guys, that is going to be it for today's video. And I'll see you in the next one as always. So until then, bye for now, everyone.